That is Brad Paisley, Keith Urban, and Start a Band on today's Country 103.5 WEZL. Again, we're going to play Trace Atkins this morning, his new one, $1 Million View between 8 and 9.
Right.
Caller 10 when we play it wins
second row seats.
Second row seats for the show on
May
May
3rd.
3rd. Yeah. And we've got $1,000 up for grabs again this morning between 9 and 10. Win that, qualify for a flyaway to Vegas.
To the museums.
On April 1st. Mm-hmm. That's all Capitol Records doing all that, right? Mm-hmm. 647 at WEZL. Talking about Sheriff Al Cannon and his slapping. First thing I thought of was George Patton. And I know a lot of folks probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But, you know, probably the greatest military mind and leader in the history of the United States, certainly, perhaps one of the top 5 in the world's history. Lost it one day while walking through a hospital, and he ran across a young soldier sitting on the bed who was suffering from what they call battle fatigue. Yeah. He just lost his nerve, and he was in the hospital with a whole bunch of people who had been shot up and bust up and all that. And Patton was walking through, handing out medals and shaking hands and in tears because he really cared about these guys. Got to this guy, and the guy's sitting there, shaking, crying. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with you? And he slapped him, and that ended his career, basically.
It sure did.
It was the end of it. He never recovered from that incident. And that was my first thought this morning when I got up and started reading all this stuff about Al Cannon slapping this guy after all he did. And again, we truly support Al Cannon. If you don't agree, that's cool, but we understand. Mm-hmm. We understand
where he was and where his mind was at that moment.
As close as much as we can, I understand where he was. Yeah. And I have, but we are very fortunate. We've got some friends on the police force, just about all of them.
Yeah.
And one of them was able to email us. This is the audio from the car camera on Sheriff Al Cannon's car. Mm-hmm. He apparently had just finished slapping this guy and had been confronted by somebody there who was asking him, what are you thinking?
Right.
And he was there in front of his car, and just listen to the emotion in Al's voice here.
Don't you ever raise your voice to me. Do you know who you're talking to? I happen to be a distinguished officer of over 30 years seniority. One of the most highly respected law enforcement agents in the United States of America. That vehicle happens to be evidence, valuable evidence that's going to convict a maniac that I've been trying to apprehend and that I have been in high-speed pursuit of for 700 miles.
He was really, I mean, you have to try to understand the emotion of the moment. You really do. I mean, he thought it was, 700 miles. It was
about 11.
But
he was going 100 miles an hour.
He was, and Al was pretty wound up tight about all that. You can tell.
You can tell. No, I think it was justified. He popped that.
Yeah, I think that pretty well explains the whole situation. No doubt.